Good morning today. Listen, I want to talk about leadership and working with other people. And if you're in business or really just living life on planet Earth, at some point you are going to be leading people, having people that you are directing to do things and take action. And one of the biggest things that I've been studying over the last few months is leadership and learning from some of the brightest minds in this. While Jocko Willink, a Navy SEAL, has his book Extreme Ownership, which the title is a little bit deceiving. It's not about anything extreme at all. In fact, it's about humility and honor and being humble as a leader. And that's what I wanted to talk about today in this video is in leadership, in anything that you're leading people, which, by the way, doing videos on social media, advertising campaigns, training, any sort of interaction that you have with other human beings, you're leading another human to something that they either desire, a common goal that you both have. And so in leadership, it needs to never be about proving that you know best. Never about validating yourself to those that you're leading. Never about proving that you know what is right at all. And this may seem counterintuitive because, okay, well, if I can't prove that I'm right, who's ever going to follow me, right? That's what we think in our minds. But that comes from a place, I'm saying that because that's what I've thought over the years. That comes from a place of really not fully believing in what we're doing, or we just believe that other people don't know what they're doing. And so the next part of this is this. It's funny, I lost about half my viewers after saying that. The next part is, in leadership, you're not trying to prove that anybody is doing anything wrong. You're not trying to prove that those that you're leading are making wrong choices. Your goal is not to prove that you are right and they are wrong. In leadership, it's about how can I meet somebody where they're at? How can I communicate with somebody and connect with them so that there's a common understanding, so that I understand this other person and I'm making my goal more about understanding another person than being understood. That I'm not trying to make sure that they hear me, but I hear them. And we can have a conversation and communication. And in leadership, it's about empowering other people to go far beyond you, to go far beyond where you're at, to the point that you want to raise up other people to where, they don't need you to micromanage. They don't need you hovering over them all the time. They don't need you telling them everything. They develop discipline in themselves to do things without you. But at the same time, okay, when you come in and you have to maybe correct something, you have to point out an error, it's not about proving that you're right and the other person's wrong, but rather giving that other person an invitation to come up to a higher level. Giving that other person an invitation to show their side of things. Listening to somebody else and what they're feeling. Hearing another individual and really caring about what they feel, what they believe. In leadership, your goal is not to validate that what you believe is true. And it very well might be. Your goal is not to prove to the other person that what they believe is false and that you have the right way. When you have belief in yourself and you know that what you're doing is true and right and helping people, your goal in leadership isn't to prove that to anybody. It's to help another person, to empower them to become the best version of themselves possible. And they have to have a desire for that. If they don't have a desire for that, it's not your job to force that person to come over to your side. It's not your job to make that person submit or make that person come under your leadership authority. Your job is to listen, to give the benefit of the doubt, to say, hey, listen, what's going on here? To realize that not everybody knows everything that you do, and that's okay. In fact, they don't need to, because if everybody knew what you would do, they would be where you're at. And they know things that you don't know. And this is the other side of leadership right here that I've been wanting to get to, is the fact that you need to honor the fact that other people know things that you don't know, and that there's information that they have that is helpful to the goal. Coming together for a common cause. Coming together for what is our common mission. And your mission needs to be more than validating that what your mission is true. More than proving that you have the answers. More than proving that you have the solutions. I was actually just doing my course that I was making this week on social media ads, and I was talking about this. Your goal in ads is never about validating that what you're promoting is true, right, or correct. And yet so often we get in this loop of believing that we have to prove our right and show people that what we're talking about is true. And it's an uphill battle from a weak position, meaning it's a position of weakness to have to prove that you know what you're talking about. Because if you have to prove that what you're talking about, it shows that A, you don't believe in it, and you're trying to validate it to yourself, to somebody else. Now you might be saying, well, no, I know it's true. This person doesn't see my side, and they need to see my side. Do they? Really? You need to make it your mission to understand that other person's side more than you care about them hearing your side of things. That's the goal. And when you do this, I promise you, I want you to hear me here. You are going to accomplish a lot more for your goals by having this perspective of not trying to get your position proved or proving that you're right in leadership. By understanding that, hey, listen, it's okay if these people don't know everything. It's okay if they don't understand this. In fact, that's good, and that's encouraged for people to be able to be vulnerable enough to say, I don't know how to do this. To encourage people to come to you and say, hey, listen, I need help in this. But if you're a leader that's constantly trying to prove that you're right and other people are wrong, you know what's going to happen is people won't come to you and ask for help. People aren't going to come to you and ask for questions. And then you might say, well, I have an open door policy where people can come to me and present their opinions and their problems and their questions and try to get help. But you know what's going to happen is people are never going to use that open door policy when your goal is proving them wrong and you right. Your mission needs to not be about trying to look good, trying to validate yourself to people that you're leading. And instead work on, how can I validate this other person? How can I help this other person feel empowered? How can I help them take ownership over this? When you're the person that's trying to prove that you're right and they're wrong, people are going to give up the ownership of their role to you, and then you're going to be in this vicious cycle of having to constantly work uphill trying to get people to do what they should and micromanage situations. When you're constantly trying to do that with content, when you're constantly trying to do that with advertising, with marketing, it's the same thing. Or you can come from a place of believing in yourself, knowing that what you're talking about is true and never having to prove it to anybody, never having to defend yourself, never having to defend your position. Walking in confidence and what you know to be true, and really caring about the other person. Caring about how they feel, how they perceive the situation, wanting to understand where they're coming from, wanting to come alongside somebody, not to show them their error, not to show them what they've done wrong, but to understand their perspective and to say, hey, listen, we have a common goal here. How do you think we could best accomplish this? How do you think we could best do this? And then leave it open to their criticism. And be open to hear other sides of things. And then right there, now that you've shown that you care about that person, now that you've shown that, okay, we have some mutual ground here. if I see something in that plan that's not going to work, I'm going to say, okay, let's move this a little bit this way. Let's move this a little bit that way. I just shared a video yesterday from Jocko where he talked about this. And I thought it was just absolutely incredible. Is when you can come from that place of humbling yourself as a leader to come alongside people, hear them out, understand what they're going through. Then you have an open door to say, hey, listen, maybe this isn't the best plan. Here's why. Let's try this. And if there's some resistance to that, say, hey, listen, I totally understand where you're coming from, but trust me on this. Let's try this for a little bit. Let's see how it works out. And at times you're going to have to come up against that, a little bit of conflict, a little bit of, speaking the truth in that. But when you don't make the other person hearing the truth be your goal and proving that what you're talking about be true, but rather how can I help somebody, empower them to go further, to look better than even me in this situation, your common mission will be met. And you're going to be able to lead people to what is going to help them. Because you're not trying to prove that they're wrong and you're right, but rather you're saying, hey, listen, good job. You tried your best. Let's look at kind of what's going on here. Let's evaluate this and let's see if we can come up with a way to improve next time. Instead of punishing what happened last time. Instead of harping down on the mistakes that are made. Coming alongside somebody and saying, hey, listen, this hasn't been working out. What do you think we could do better? And being open to that, and being open to a conversation, and being open to a connection with somebody that you're leading. Instead of, listen to my authority, I know what's best and you don't. That's going to shut people down. That's going to get people to not do their best. And then it's going to validate to you that you know what's best and they don't, every single time. But when you can make your mission, how can I help raise somebody up to a higher level, to where they are empowered to have the self-discipline themselves to do what's going to help them and help the common mission, because we both have the same mission in mind. Now we can start producing results. Now we can start working with people. Now we can start creating the common goal. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to just encourage you that it's not that people that are watching my videos are doing anything wrong, or even, the people that fell off 2 minutes into this video are doing anything wrong. It's not about that. It's not about me proving that what I'm saying is right, but I want to encourage you to just try this. Try it out. See what happens. You might be surprised that you will actually get a lot closer to your goals in the end by empowering another person to take ownership instead of you having to be the one that carries everything. And when we do this, we can grow in our relationships, in our families, in our wealth, in our businesses, to do more, accomplish more, and have a greater impact. Because it's not about us. It's not about how we can validate that we're good enough. Our goal becomes so much bigger than that. Our why is so much greater than just proving and validating that we're worthy of this result. But rather, how can I bring other people into this mission? How can I make it about empowering others? How can I accomplish this goal and make other people look good? And if you do that, you're going to be able to move the needle forward towards what you're trying to accomplish every single time. Grow your life, everybody, and we'll talk soon.